Imagine standing at the threshold between life and death. What lies beyond? The Bible's answer might surprise you. It's not just about harps and clouds, but a transformation that begins the moment your heart stops beating. In the Old Testament, we encounter the concept of Sheol, a sort of cosmic waiting room for the deceased. Picture, if you will, a vast underground chamber where both the righteous and the wicked await their final judgment. This isn't the hell of popular imagination, nor is it the paradise promised in later scriptures. It's a holding area, a liminal space between life and what comes after. Intriguingly, archaeological evidence suggests that ancient Israelites believed in a conscious existence after death. They buried their dead with items for the afterlife, much like the Egyptians did with their pharaohs. But here's where it gets interesting. This ancient understanding of death is about to undergo a dramatic shift as we progress through biblical history. The veil between worlds, it seems, is thinner than we might imagine. Welcome to True Bible Legends. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next videos. Today we're talking about what really happens when you die. The Great Divide. Old Testament versus New Testament. As the veil between worlds thins, a startling revelation emerges. What if the Old Testament's view of death was just the prelude to a more profound truth? The New Testament introduces a radical shift in our understanding of the afterlife, one that might challenge everything you thought you knew about what happens when we die. The concept of Sheol, that cosmic waiting room we encountered in the Old Testament, undergoes a dramatic transformation as we turn the pages to the New Testament. It's as if we're witnessing a cosmic renovation, where the architecture of the afterlife is being redrawn before our very eyes. Consider, if you will, the words of the Apostle Paul in his second letter to the Corinthians. He writes, "To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord." This isn't just a minor theological update. It's a seismic shift in how early Christians viewed death. No longer is there a sense of languishing in some shadowy underworld. Instead, Paul paints a picture of an immediate, personal encounter with the divine. This new perspective introduces the concept of an intermediate state for believers. Imagine it as a sort of spiritual green room where the faithful await their final curtain call, the resurrection. It's not the end of the story, but rather an intermission in the grand drama of eternity. But what about those who don't make the cut, so to speak? The New Testament doesn't shy away from addressing this. The concept of hell emerges, not as a neutral waiting area, but as a place of separation from God. It's a sobering counterpoint to the hope offered to believers. Now, you might be wondering, what happened to Sheol? Did it just disappear? Well, it's more like it evolved. The New Testament takes the seed of hope planted in the Old Testament, the idea that the righteous might enjoy a special closeness to God, and lets it blossom into a full-fledged garden of theological understanding. This shift in perspective isn't just academic theology. It has profound implications for how we view life, death, and everything in between. It's like switching from a black-and-white television to full-color HD. Suddenly, the afterlife isn't just about existing. It's about experiencing a vibrant, personal relationship with the divine. But here's where it gets really interesting. This new understanding doesn't just affect how we view death. It transforms how we live. The promise of being in God's presence immediately after death offers a comfort and hope that can radically alter our approach to life's challenges. It's like having a backstage pass to eternity. The fear of death loses its sting when you know you're headed straight for the VIP section. Of course, this shift in understanding didn't happen overnight. It's the result of progressive revelation, where God's plan unfolds over time like a cosmic mystery novel. Each page turn brings new insights, building on what came before. And let's not forget the implications for our understanding of the soul. The debate around the intermediate state opens up questions about the nature of our existence after death. Are we disembodied spirits floating in divine bliss? Or is there more to the story? These questions have fueled theological discussions for centuries, and they continue to intrigue and challenge us today. The promise of resurrection. While debates about the intermediate state intrigue us, they may be missing a far more revolutionary truth. What if the ultimate Christian hope isn't about where our souls go immediately after death, but about a future physical reality that makes our current existence pale in comparison? The New Testament's emphasis on resurrection hints at a transformation beyond our wildest imagination. Consider for a moment the metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly. This process, known as complete metamorphosis, involves the breakdown and rebuilding of the creature's entire body. In a similar vein, the biblical concept of resurrection suggests a transformation no less radical for human beings. The New Testament presents resurrection as a cornerstone of Christian eschatology, the study of last things. It's not merely an afterthought or a consolation prize, but the very heart of the Christian hope. Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, dedicates an entire chapter to unpacking this doctrine. He describes resurrection bodies as imperishable and glorious, a far cry from our current frail and mortal forms. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. The promise of resurrection isn't limited to a select few. According to biblical teaching, all will be raised, both the righteous and the unjust. It's like a cosmic roll call, where every soul that has ever lived will answer. However, the outcomes couldn't be more different. For the righteous, it's a promotion to glory. For the unjust, it's a summons to face justice. This universal resurrection raises some profound questions about the nature of eternal existence. Traditionally, many have understood this to mean eternal conscious punishment for the wicked. Picture, if you will, an endless existence of separation from God, a sobering prospect indeed. However, some theologians propose an alternative view known as annihilationism. This perspective suggests that those who reject God might simply cease to exist after judgment, much like a candle flame extinguished. The debate between these views is not merely academic. It touches on fundamental questions about the nature of God, justice, and the purpose of creation. If death itself is to be destroyed, as the Bible claims, how does that square with the idea of eternal conscious torment? These are the kinds of questions that have fueled theological discussions for centuries. Yet, amid these weighty debates, the New Testament consistently points us back to resurrection as the ultimate Christian hope. It's not about escaping the physical world for some ethereal spiritual existence. Rather, it's about the renewal and transformation of the entire created order. Think of it as the ultimate extreme makeover, not just for individuals, but for the cosmos itself. This emphasis on resurrection rather than an intermediate state challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about life after death. It's not about floating on clouds or playing harps for eternity. Instead, it points to a renewed physical existence in a recreated world. Imagine the most beautiful, unspoiled corner of our current world. Then multiply that beauty and perfection across an entire new creation. The promise of resurrection offers not just survival, but a complete renewal and transformation. It's like getting a brand new, top-of-the-line model to replace your old, worn-out vehicle, except in this case, it's your entire being that's upgraded. This isn't just wishful thinking or pie-in-the-sky dreaming. For Christians, it's a central tenet of faith, grounded in the resurrection of Jesus himself. Paradise, temporary haven or eternal home. This grand vision of resurrection, however, raises an intriguing question about paradise. If Jesus promised the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise," what exactly did he mean? The answer might surprise you. The concept of paradise has long captured our imagination, conjuring images of eternal bliss and heavenly repose. Yet, a closer examination of Scripture suggests that our traditional understanding of paradise might be due for a significant revision. In Luke 23:43, Jesus tells the repentant thief, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." This statement has been interpreted in various ways throughout Christian history, but recent scholarship offers a perspective that challenges our conventional wisdom. Consider, if you will, the etymology of the word paradise. It originates from the Persian word for a walled garden, an image that resonates with the biblical Garden of Eden. This connection hints at a deeper truth. Paradise, in its biblical context, might not represent a permanent afterlife, but rather a temporary state of existence. It's akin to a spiritual waiting room, a place of rest and refreshment before the main event. This understanding of paradise as a temporary haven aligns with the broader New Testament emphasis on resurrection and new creation. It's as if God has prepared a comfortable guest room for us, while the master suite, our resurrected bodies in a renewed creation, is still under construction. This perspective challenges us to shift our focus from an immediate, disembodied afterlife to the ultimate hope of bodily resurrection. The implications of this view are profound. It suggests that the promise of being with Christ immediately after death, while comforting, is not the final chapter of our story. Instead, it's more like an intermission in the grand drama of redemption. The true climax awaits at the resurrection when, as Paul describes, we will be clothed with imperishable bodies. This understanding of paradise also sheds light on the theological debate surrounding the intermediate state. Some scholars argue for a conscious existence in God's presence, while others see it as merely a waiting period until the final resurrection. The concept of paradise as a temporary state offers a middle ground, acknowledging both the immediacy of being with Christ and the anticipation of something even greater to come. Imagine, if you will, a caterpillar entering its chrysalis. The cocoon provides a safe, nurturing environment, but it's not the butterfly's ultimate destination. In the same way, paradise offers comfort and presence with God, but it's not our final form or home. The real transformation, our butterfly moment, comes with the resurrection. This perspective on paradise challenges us to recalibrate our spiritual GPS. Instead of fixating on a disembodied existence in the clouds, we're invited to look forward to a renewed physical existence in a recreated world. It's like being promised not just a new house, but an entirely new neighborhood, one designed and built by the divine architect himself. Of course, this view of paradise as a temporary state raises questions about the nature of time in the afterlife. How does our experience of today in paradise relate to the future resurrection? These are the kinds of theological puzzles that have kept Christian thinkers engaged for centuries, reminding us that the mysteries of God often defy our simple categorizations. The whole person restored. These theological puzzles pale in comparison to the ultimate mystery of human existence. What if I told you that your current self, body, mind, and soul, is just a prototype of what you're destined to become? The biblical view of resurrection presents a startling alternative to our common notions of life after death, one that might just redefine your understanding of eternity. The concept of resurrection in the Bible isn't merely about the continuation of consciousness or the survival of some ethereal spirit. It's a far more profound and transformative event. According to Scripture, resurrection involves the restoration of the whole person, body and soul, reunited and renewed. This isn't just a return to life as we know it. It's an upgrade to life as God intended it. Consider the analogy of a classic car restoration. When a skilled mechanic restores a vintage automobile, they don't simply polish the exterior and call it a day. They meticulously rebuild the engine, replace worn parts, and often enhance the vehicle's performance beyond its original capabilities. In a similar vein, the biblical resurrection isn't about patching up our old selves, but about a complete overhaul that results in a glorified version of who we are. This view of resurrection challenges the popular notion of a disembodied existence after death. It's not about floating on clouds or existing as pure spirit. Instead, the Bible points to a physical resurrection that ensures the continuity of our identity. As stated in 1 Corinthians 15, The resurrection involves the same bodies that went into the ground, but with radically different qualities. It's you, but the best version of you that you could possibly imagine. The implications of this belief are profound. It means that our physical bodies aren't just temporary shells to be discarded, but an integral part of who we are, destined for renewal. This aligns with both Old and New Testament teachings about the nature of humanity. In the creation account, God forms Adam from the dust of the ground and breathes life into him. This portrayal of humans as integrated beings, both physical and spiritual, is consistent throughout Scripture. For Christians, this understanding of resurrection shapes how we approach death. It's not an escape from the physical world, but a transition to a renewed physical existence. Death becomes not an end, but a doorway to full restoration. It's like going to sleep in a run-down shack and waking up in a palace, except the palace is your own transformed self. This view also impacts how we live our lives now. If our bodies are destined for resurrection, it gives new significance to how we treat them in the present. It's not just about maintaining health for this life, but about honoring the vessel that God will one day renew and perfect. The promise of bodily resurrection also offers comfort in the face of loss. When we lay a loved one to rest, we're not saying a final goodbye, but a see you later in anticipation of a joyful reunion. It's like sending a cherished heirloom to be restored by a master craftsman. There's sadness in the parting, but excitement for the day it will be returned, more beautiful than ever. Your journey beyond. As we journey through the biblical understanding of death, we've witnessed a remarkable transformation. From the shadowy realm of Sheol to the vibrant hope of resurrection, Scripture paints a picture of profound renewal. This isn't merely about survival, but about becoming the best version of ourselves in a recreated world. Consider how this perspective might reshape your approach to life. If your current self is but a prototype, how might you live differently? The promise of resurrection challenges us to view our bodies not as temporary shells, but as sacred vessels destined for glory. In light of these truths, I invite you to reflect on your own spiritual journey. Are you aligning your life with this ultimate hope? The Bible's teaching on death and resurrection isn't just about the future. It's a call to live purposefully now, in anticipation of the divine transformation to come.